It's your choice to fail to perform your duties. No, you're refusing to file the paperwork. This is your office administrative policy. This is to be in front of a judge, and I need to be docketed for an emergency hearing at his earliest convenience. Yeah, well, this is going in front of a federal case if you refuse to do your duty.
Take that.
All right.
That is what you need to do to file with us.
I need you to file that. Are you refusing?
Yes, I am. Because you're not following the procedure that we
Procedure. Procedure is not law. This is common law. This is Michigan State Constitution, which you were elected to get this job. You ready for me to go?
Yeah.
Okay. Time to go.
You've, so they can take what they gave you. If you don't, that's fine.
There's no service to me to take their policy paperwork. Appreciate you guys standing by. All right, have a good day, guys.
I am sorry I couldn't be more.
I understand. Right, so you had ex parte communication concerning my case.
Communication with the judge.
Right, ex parte, right? Because, yeah. Now remember, I was just there and I was refused that same communication that you were granted. Imagine that.
Well,
That's a conflict, right? Because according to the MCL, in the articles of the Michigan State Constitution, right, which is your oath, your oath, your oath, and that judge's oath,
I know my oath.
and that clerk's oath. I know your oath too, right? Now, I may have a little bit of an attitude, but that doesn't take away from the fact that the core of this situation is my grandson's safety.
I agree.
That was neglected.
Okay.
Okay,
Is he
when I
neglected
made it
by-
known-
Is he neglected by his parent or parents?
That's at that end, right? But the judge now has neglected, because the judge had a conversation with you,
That's what she said.
which, if it wasn't the nature of an emergency, I would be able to do so, right? Because they want me to fill out procedural forms, which, granted, that's outside of your jurisdiction because you're a lieutenant. You are not a lawyer, right?
I am not a lawyer.
Have you ever filed a petition in the courts for your own legal purposes? Ever?
Ever, no.
No, right. I have.
Okay.
Okay. That's why I'm familiar with these laws and codes and procedures. And just to show you, demonstration, same petition. Where's the format? Where's the proper procedure? Notice the stamp there? What's that say? 18th Circuit Court, probate juvenile, does it not?
Yes, sir.
Yep. Does that look like a form? Can you show him my petition? Tell me if they look the same underneath the yellow piece of paper. That's my top report. This is the petition. No. That is the petition I made an attempt to file, and I was refused access to see the judge. Same format. Okay? So don't pick hairs with, not you, the clerk. Don't pick hairs with me in the event of an emergency, because I have limited time.
So let me ask you this: what we're apparently on a time constraint with this emergency that you have.
Yes.
So how can we assist you with that? Because that's how we're going to be able to do that today. For
Oh, you could sign that back order for me.
I can't sign it.
Well, you want to get me to the judge real quick before he takes off? That would be the next best thing.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen.
I don't think I could. Can you guarantee me a hearing in the morning?
No.
Okay, right?
No.
Okay, because it's going to take some time to appropriately fill out the administrative procedural paperwork.
But you tell me if I'm wrong. There's a grandchild is in jeopardy.
Yes.
Okay. So you want something done now?
No. I just need the authority to prevent kidnapping charges. How's that sound?
Okay. Can I give you a couple of suggestions?
No,
Okay.
because I've already been down those roads. Let me guess. You're going to suggest I call Children's Services, right?
That's one of them.
Okay. You want to know what they told me?
No, sir.
My daughter can drink her urine. It's okay. So what does that mean? That means I've already.
That doesn't sound.
You want to bet?
Commonsensical.
You want to bet?
No, I mean if somebody told you that, I'm not.
You want to put a wager on it?
No, I don't want.
Okay. That's why I'm not calling Children's Services for the third time.
Okay.
Yeah, because I took that route.
Okay.
Right.
All right.
Okay. And that's how we ended up here. In
Okay.
fact, that document on that side.
Your second option, right? Sounds like there's an issue with your daughter,
Yes.
the mother.
Yes.
Have you, as
You're holding the document.
I know, I'm just asking. Okay. Have you in the past or today, would you be interested in having her evaluated mental health wise?
You're holding the document, and yes, and that's why I was here, to
Okay.
follow up with those procedures.
Did you go to, it's called behavioral health at McLaren Hospital?
Yes.
And did you file a petition?
They told me, go see the judge first and get that signature. Go see the judge first. Yeah, right. So see how you get all these people practicing law
Yeah.
without a license, but none of you have an idea of what you're doing. I'm the only one that has an idea, which is what you're holding in your hand, sir. No disrespect.
I don't agree with that. I don't agree with your last statement that we don't know.
What, you don't, about when it comes to practicing law? You just said here that you've never filed a petition in your life.
I have not.
So how would you know what you're doing?
I know that it's somewhat how the law works.
No, you have an idea of how people agree to contract. That's what you have, okay?
Well,
And I get it.
How can we assist you today?
That report right there as well, but it sounds like you kind of backdoored me, went and talked to the judge first to protect the gatekeeping, I get it. But that's the report that needed to be filed with the sheriff department because they have the elected authority to do so.
To do what with this piece of paper?
Well, what do you do when someone files a complaint? You investigate, right?
That's correct.
Okay then. I can't tell you how to do your job.
But here's the other part of that. If you are making a complaint against the court, we work in the same governmental unity.
Right.
Wouldn't you be more apt to say that we might have a conflict of interest?
Well, it all depends. You said you had an oath, right?
That's true.
Okay then. As long as you uphold that oath and you sniff out the tyrants that don't uphold their oath, you're doing your job. Now, if you want to protect the tyrant,
But what if if we investigate it and it comes to a conclusion that you don't like?
paperwork's not going to lie.
Well, you might not like the answer though, and say that we, maybe doctored the paperwork but didn't do our job right.
You know that federal courthouse that's
Yes,
just
sir.
right across the street?
I know where it's at.
Who do you think told me to come talk to the sheriff about the way the state handled my petition? Yeah, federal court.
And who did-
So I go right over to federal court once I get your complete investigation that says that the clerk did in fact refuse to accept the filing. And if the judge wants to jump on there too, I'll take his oath to federal court as well. And we'll talk about that contract violation in the event that something does happen to my grandson, and I have to file a wrongful death suit against you, and anybody that doesn't do their job because they're all familiar with their oath.
We're trying to do our jobs.
Are you? Okay, that means you should be able to take that
What
report.
we'll do, we'll take your complaint.
Right.
Okay, for today, and we'll investigate it.
Right. And
Okay.
I understand you're going to come back and say that the clerk did her job.
I'm not saying, well, you already prejudged this.
Well, of course, because you already talked to the judge before you even came and talked to me.
It doesn't matter what I said to the judge.
Kind of
She
does.
said to me,
Kind of interfered, but
it does not.
Yeah.
It does not.
we'll let the jury figure it out if I don't get a remedy, because I'm looking for a remedy to save my grandson. That's the bottom
And I
line.
offered some remedies to you. and
No,
you said-
Children's Service is not a remedy because I told you what they said to me the last. You could absolutely do that.
But I mean, I would like to have that documentation if you have it.
Yeah, I would have to chase down more sticks. See why I said I don't have more time? I don't have time because see, let me just tell you what I had to do. I had to make a deal with the devil
Which is what?
from Chicago Airport,
And
then
did-
drop her off.
Did you?
Yeah.
Well, then you were part of the crime.
No, I'm not part of the crime because I wasn't aware of it until after the fact, and there was nothing I could do about it. I had my grandson back in the country because and I made a missing persons report. You know what they said to me?
No, sir.
They said, "Ooh, she already left the country. Nothing we can do." Then I called Bay County, made the same missing persons report. This was back in March, and they said, "Ooh, nothing we can do. She already left the country." So by the grace of God, I got her back to the country.
Did you get her back, or did she just come back?
She called me and said, "I'm coming back for what's called a vision quest ceremony."
What is that?
Right. I had to make. I had to let her know I was okay with dropping her off at this ceremony here in the state of Michigan. So now I have jurisdiction again because she's no longer in Peru and she brought my grandson here. So now I am being up here in front of the judge to say, "Hey, can I go get my grandson from her?" Right? And now I've got a grandson. My grandson's safe.
Right.
He will never go back to Peru again. Okay? Because the judge could sign that piece of paper on the back. If you look at the order, it's very clean and very smooth. One signature was all at the very back, last page, sir.
Is this our
You don't need to hold this. This is just my records.
Okay.
This is the most current situation that is attached to that record. All my dead judge needed to do was sign there. Right there. That was it. He'd take my testimony of what I witnessed. I witnessed the drug smuggling. Okay? I didn't know about it until she was already in my car. And she's pulling the shit out, showing us what it was.
So let me ask you this. If I walked you over to the courthouse right now and they accepted this, would that suffice to you?
I would hope so. I would hope I could get that testimony to the judge so that he could understand this is an emergency, because if she takes flight again, you know what she's going to do? She's going to go back to Peru with my grandson.
I get it.
Okay? That's the emergency here that doesn't have time for 15-page procedure.
But. Okay.
That's the difference.
Okay.
Okay?
But if the judge denies.
Then that's it. I can only appeal, and I have to leave peacefully, and I can only appeal in writing. That's it.
Okay.
And everybody did their job.
Okay. Do you want me to do that for you today?
If you could, sir, because you're saving my grandson's life.
I'll tell you, these officers are going to walk you over, and I'll make a phone call, okay?
Yes, sir.
To the judge.
Yes, sir.
That you're going to come over with these officers, and you're going to file this.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
If something changes, I will radio them to let them know that.
Yes, sir.
If they won't accept this again.
Yes, sir. If they won't accept it again,
Right.
at least you guys can investigate that claim,
Right.
because then I can make the appropriate filings with the federal court to get
What
the
time do we
writ
have?
of mandamus.
What time do we have now? 4:30. Okay, so we're on a time frame from the court because they're going to close here.
Yes, sir. Very much.
So where are you parked?